Okay guys, so another day and another tutorial. So today we're going to talk about how to color and add texture to our completed project to where we're at so far, okay? So if you have been staying on track in class, then this is about where you are at too. All of your things have been outlined, all of your details have been outlined, as well as your patterns, okay? So you should be about here. And if you are not at this point, you need some catch-up time because you really have to try to get to this point today. For today's class, which will be Thursday, we are to finish coloring half of our project, okay? We don't need to do the whole thing. So I am going to pick what half I want to do today. And I think today I'm going to do the bottom half here, okay? So everything below my horizon line is what I'm going to do on Thursday, which means everything above my horizon line is what I will leave for Friday, okay? If you have extra time, we wanna make sure if you're in the classroom with me that you are matting and framing your completed pieces, like your still life. We can even mat and frame this guy tomorrow, okay? So that's a great option as well. We can mat and frame your sphere assignment if you liked that, or if you're at home and you are enjoying art class with me remotely, you can do something creative for your free time, okay? So we are only completing half coloring on Thursday, half coloring on Friday, submit on Friday to get our project grade, okay? So the best means to color our project with would be watercolors for our material, colored pencils for our material, or markers for our material. And I'm gonna show you how to get texture with all three of those, okay? So down here was an area that I left a lot of space for because I knew I was going to do texture instead of pattern on my grass and my water, okay? So the first part I'm gonna show you is how to get texture on my water using watercolor. So I'm going to dip in my watercolor here. Let's try to get it in an area that you can see it. So I'm gonna dip in my watercolor here and I'm going to get some blue. And this is going to be my starting color here. So the first thing that I wanna do with my blue is follow where I plan to do my blue texture. So I am just kind of following my river and making streaky lines, okay? So you can see I still have a lot of white spots. That's completely fine, okay? That's actually what I want. So the next thing I'm going to do is pick up a different color. So I'm gonna pick up some green now, okay? And with this green, I'm gonna work this into my water the same way I did the blue. So really just kind of streaking it along, letting it be kind of mixed in with my blue here. And then maybe the last color that I'm gonna use is some purple. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up purple. And now this texture that I'm doing, you can do this with anything. You can do this with markers. You can do this with colored pencils, with any material that you're using, okay? So here we go. I think this is about it for my water. It looks nice and textured. When it dries, it's gonna lighten up a little bit and not be so dark in some spots. So I'm gonna leave this just like this. At least I have some color change. That's gonna show me texture, okay? The next place I'm going to show you texture with watercolor is on my grass. So for my grass, I'm going to pull some green and I'm gonna let this be really watery. So I'm gonna mix in a lot of water here. And I'm also gonna add a little bit of yellow to this as well. So this is gonna get a nice lime green. Lots of water. So now I'm gonna take this and start to color the next place that I want to have texture. So this is getting a really nice light green on here. I'm gonna fill in this whole area. Okay, there we go. So now this whole spot is green. And I'm gonna let this dry just for a second, and I'm gonna show you how to get some texture on this. So we wanna use maybe something that's a similar color, maybe something that's not. Either way is completely fine. For this example, I'm gonna pick up some more green. So I just took really dark green here, less water, because I want it to be a lot more saturated of a color. And then I'm gonna take some brown. I'm gonna mix my brown in here too. So this is gonna get me a deeper green, like a very earthy green here, okay? And then with this, I can go back in and I can just do little grass strokes that are going to bleed out and just kind of blend in, because this is still a wet layer underneath. So see how that's leaving some texture? So the more wet it is, the more this is going to just kind of fuzz out. Either way is okay. If it looks nice and crisp, that's great. Or if it kind of bleeds out, that's fine too, okay? But you can see the difference of an area that we've done no texture and an area that we've put some texture in, okay? Same thing if we're using colored pencils. I can take a green colored pencil and get that first layer in. And then I can take a darker color, like a dark brown, and I can add in some texture this way. So you don't have to use browns. You could use a blue if you wanted it to be kind of really nice and vibrant and colorful and fun. It can totally be a blue here. It can be purple, it can be pink, it can be whatever you want. But do you see how this is becoming textured? Okay, same thing goes for the markers. So if I was to use my green marker here and fill in this nice area, a way to get texture with markers is that same method that we've used with other materials. Take a different color, so I've taken blue again, and just kind of adding in some texture there. Doesn't have to be blue. Try and see what a yellow would look like. What does yellow look like? Can't really see yellow on this, so that's not really gonna work for a texture. Maybe instead of green grass, maybe you wanna do pink dots on your grass. Who knows, okay? You can do whatever you would like for pattern and texture. Now this kind of looks like there's like flowers over here, which is kind of cool, okay? So you can do anything that you want, whatever combination, just as long as you have pattern and texture, okay? Same thing goes with mountains and things like that. I can choose to paint every one of these streaks a different color or different tint or what have you, or I can choose to do this whole thing one color, okay? I'm gonna show you one more sky texture for my friends who didn't choose to go red, orange, yellow, or something like that. I'm gonna show you a way that we can layer and get just a really nice coverage on our sky here. So I have yellow, and I'm just going to fill my whole sky with a base of yellow. Okay, so now that that's all filled, I can go back in with a darker color. So I'm gonna pick up some red on here. And I can just kind of let these mix together. So I'm kind of putting some red, and then I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna dab off my brush. So I'm getting off the excess paint here. And then I'm just kind of letting these blend together. right? Kind of looks a little bit like a sunset. Getting off that excess paint, letting these just kind of blend together. And this makes a really pretty textured sky. So if you don't want to do the alternating colors here, you can totally do something like this, okay? Then that ends up looking like a really nice sunset. And then once this dries a little bit more, so I don't want to touch up too close to my red because I know if I do it'll mix. But as soon as this is, oops, see my red just mixed a bit. So kind of hold off on painting sections that are close by until your last sections. Unless you want them to blend. You could totally have these blend on purpose. Okay? But that looks like a really nice sunset. So make sure you really take your time with textures. Here's a close-up at what this watercolor grass texture looks like. It came out really neat. Some close-ups of marker, the watercolor river, and the sunset. So all of these are things that you can play around with whatever coloring material you have at home or you have access to in the classroom.